Good morning, President Hakainde Chilema. Good morning, Africa. Good morning, President Julius Malema, the EF, President of South Africa. President Mwenda Kasonde, EFF Zambia. Also, Ibrahim Taral of Burkina Faso, good morning. I believe I want to make this fact very clearly. When I'm talking about my visions and dreams, and when I'm addressing this to President Hakainde Chilema of Zambia, I've received a lot of reaction to say, no, I'm accusing him. When Siawan speak things that actually erode anger in the PF, there's no one who condemns him. He's right. That's where people who want to know what is truth. Truth receives criticism. Truth is always misrepresented. Truth is always misunderstood, because when it refuses truth to others, it becomes hatred. I want to believe that in everything that what I'm discussing here is, when a person has been told when there was peace or in time of peace, he doesn't listen. The time when he's facing the music of his disobedience, that's when you tell them. African tradition, if you tell a child, don't climb the tree, don't climb the tree, the child continues climbing the tree. The day the child falls, you go on the ground, he's crying. That's the time when you get a whip, you also add the pain. I have been telling you, I was telling you, so that this child knows that to obey is better than sacrifice. What I'm reading is not something that I programmed to talk against someone or against the HH. It is something that is written in this book. Let me read the first good purpose of my revelation in this call for 90 days national prayer meeting for national restoration, which was rejected by Michael Sata, which was rejected by Lungu, and even rejected further by Hakainde Chilema. This open letter is the first volume of the open letter. I don't know if there's anyone in the world that wrote 12 books of almost 200 copies, all of them consisting one letter, a pleading from God. If God did not love Hakainde Chilema, he could not have kept me for more than 1 year, every night, day and night, writing. I spent a lot of money eating breakfast, lunch, supper, everything. What I wanted to do, I sold the land for me to produce, just to write, not to produce, just to write these books, this open letter to Levi Manawasa. If you want me to tell you, I sold land, 27,000 kwacha, which I used. I never bought anything. I never bought anything out of that. But I was eating and financing the buying of a laptop and the papers and trying to organize printers here and there for me to produce these 12 volumes of books. Not to hate Hakainde Chilema, not to fight the UPND government, not to fight Lungu, no, but to reveal the love of God, the love of Jesus Christ to Hakainde Chilema. And when I'm revealing, I find people who don't know what is a vision. Because some people, they just give comments contrary to the discussion because they have never received a vision in their life. And they have never received a dream. Whatever dreams they reveal, there are these common dreams where you are dreaming, you are being chased by a lion because you've eaten also, the way they were insulting me that you've eaten pap. But my visions are more different than the ordinary visions that people speak, because I see things before they happen and I speak of them and I write of them and I warn the victim by name. I don't just speculate or go into a blanket and say plan B is entering here. No, me, I speak, I warn the person before it happens. My coming here is a warning to President Hakainde Chilema, because when I wrote these 12 volumes, I was actually not on Facebook or anywhere to discuss about this publicly. I wanted Hakainde Chilema to reply to me after reading these books. But unfortunately, I had no reply. And I realized that the time is ticking. When Lungu got admitted, I realized that that dream has been fulfilled. I challenged those who were posting something that Edgar Lungu has said this on Facebook twice. You can check on my on my Facebook. I said I would wish to see Lungu himself speaking about the current affairs, because Lungu was shown on a video like he was speaking live, talking about the elections. I don't know, those elections that took place in Petauke, or let me say in Ichpata. But I said I want Lungu to speak concerning the current debates that are there over the constitutional amendment. I will believe that everything is well in Lungu. Then again, another challenge that I had to know that something is wrong with Lungu. Lungu may not rise on his deathbed. It is when they released a picture to say Lungu was with Edith Nawakwi and he's saying his condolences and what. I said, I'll believe that Lungu is there if Lungu attends the funeral. Because I was not speaking in parables. I was speaking of a dream that I had in 2012 before Lungu became a president. Understand me. I explained everything about his death in that letter that I wrote to Kristen Kaseva. Ask her, she's alive. Ask Amos Chanda, he's alive. Those are the people that received that letter and he signed on those letters. Ask George Chela, he's around. If I'm lying. Even George Chela reached a point when I talked to him on WhatsApp, he says, oh, after when I fled, when Michael Sata wanted to kill me under the influence of the SDA church. When I was sleeping by UN, I was threatened. I went there to protest my protection. Sata died whilst there. And when Sata died, I asked him, don't you remember I told you to say, let's have a 90 days national prayer so that we can avoid the death of Michael Sata? So when I reminded that, he insulted me, big insults. If I can check that copy of that Facebook, WhatsApp copy of what I printed out, I'll put it on my stories, on my Facebook stories. Big insult, which I cannot even utter with my mouth, because it pained him. When I was talking to him in the State House, when I was promised that I'm going to meet Sata, instead of meeting Sata, they are telling me here. I was actually burning in my heart to save Michael Sata because I knew what was happening. I continue burning to save Edgar Lungu, calling for prayers, even on my Facebook. But they did not reply to my call for prayers. Today, I'm speaking here, burning in my heart to save HH. But his henchmen, his praise singers, they are there thinking that I'm actually spreading hate speech. I just want to demonstrate a little how clearly God speaks in the writings that I wrote before HH became president. But let me read this one, the latest one, to prove how God actually led me to ask Hakainde Chilema to conduct this 90 days prayer meeting, to bring the country to the understanding of the revelations of God, so that there can be unity. They can identify the enemy who is bringing all this division and misunderstanding. I said on page 3, Roman numerals, God calls for you to embrace 90 days national prayer of 2018 that was rejected by late President Sata, the former President Lungu in your belly will fix it slogan for God to establish you. How do exhibit the 90 days national prayer messages that were meant to former President Edgar Lungu see administration well in government, but they ignored the call and the prayers. If it is thereby to prove God's love and call for national leaders to seek God in their line of executing national duties. Furthermore, the 90 days national prayer meeting is for all international leaders in Zimbabwe, South Africa, America, etc., and the Vatican, in order for them to protect God's ministry of visions and dreams, because they communicate God's will and unfading grace to the sinful world. Such a message. Can someone claim that I hated President Hakainde Chilema? Not at all. I want to proceed by saying this book, I published it in 2008. The open letter was written on 12th May 2007. This is the book that I wrote, and the open letter, which I say open letter to Manawasa, it was written in 2007, 12th May 2007. So what I'm reading is something that I wrote in 2007. So now, when I'm reading something that I wrote in 2007, then someone says that I'm bringing issues where there's a national mourning. National mourning, I've read that the by-elections are scheduled to continue regardless of the national mourning. So if by-elections and the parties that are supposed to field their candidate, they are mourning, but the ECZ continues to announce the date of by-elections, they have stopped to consider it a national mourning. So me as a servant of God, I'm bringing peace. It is the only time when Hakainde, perhaps Hakainde and his people can understand that God is protesting for their stubbornness, for their clinging to power, using methods that are not protected by God's grace. Here is what I read. This message was actually directed to all leaders who were coopted into this, who were coopted. It was to Levi Manawasa, but I saved a copy of this letter that I actually put in here. I saved a copy to former President Kenneth Kaunda, to former President FTJ Chiluba, to PF President Michael Sata, UPND President HH Hakainde Chilema, Honorable former Minister Vijay Mwanga, and political advisor Mrs. Mavis Muyunda. These are the people I gave this letter. You can ask them. I gave them a copy of, is it 12 to 14 pages letter that contained the message that I'm reading today for your verification of truth. Because there are prophets that claim that they are prophets. When they analyze political news, they wake up tomorrow morning that I saw. No, me, I don't see. If you ask me to say, can you see? I don't see. I receive a message. I'm a messenger. When I receive a message, then I talk about it. When I hold a pen and start writing, that message, I understand the writings and I receive the writing fluently as I pen down whatever the vision is. So let me quickly read here. Open letter to Dr. Lev Manawasa, page 97. This is the second volume. The rescue operation, criminal trespass. On the paragraph 2, I said, God is challenging you, Dr. FTJ Chiluba, today that there's no secret or hidden things that will not come out. And I have a vision concerning Vijay Mwanga. I asked you to invite him to Mount Carmel, where the power of God's revealed word should manifest in order to save Zambia from seeing the face of God in the Red Sea predicament. This is a loving statement. I asked Chiluba to invite also Honorable Mwanga, who was standing at that particular time as a commendable figure in Zambian politics. Invite him to come with you to Mount Carmel before Zambia sees the face of God in the Red Sea. What is the Red Sea? All Bible students who agree with me to say, when you say Red Sea, you are talking where the king of Egypt drowned because he was resisting to listen to the prophet of God, Moses. All the presidents that have died, 6 of them, they have drowned in the Red Sea because they've been resisting to meet God's power. There's one American president, Carter, who has lived more than 100 years. Is still around as a former president. So, KK was supposed to be around also. Nelson Mandela was supposed to be around also. All these former presidents, they were supposed to be around by now because 100 years is not the limit of an old man. What has killed these leaders? It's witchcraft, which brings cancer, which bring all these other chemicals which we receive from food and so forth, that even create all these diseases that we are faced with as chronic diseases and HIV/AIDS. Because when one is in power, can sleep with every woman he wants, and by the end of the day, they become sick and die because they have rejected the protection of God. Zambia has to be saved from what? Zambian leaders must be saved from the Red Sea. I said, for the evil spirit has entered Chiluba, even his press aide, who denied me entry to the press conference, and he pushed me and pretended as if he did not see me, and said, wait. He answered. I waited outside his Kablonga house as he addressed the press conference. I've mentioned the press aide. Ask the press aide. I know when I say Chiluba and the press aide, there is only one famous press aide. Who is this one? I know you know him. Emmanuel Mwamba. As I'm speaking right now, Emmanuel Mwamba, even if he doesn't see me, but if he hears my voice, he will tell you that this is Evangelist Masuka. Because I sat with him, I talked to him, I actually asked him to say, I want to bring a check to rescue Frederick Chiluba from arrest and these criminal charges leveled against him. He took me for a fool because I used the parable. I used the parable. He refused that I should hand over the check. Then let me continue. What did I say thereafter? In this 2007, I said, till I saw the spirit of hatred, that of the frog, in him to fight back his perceived enemies. I saw the spirit of frogs in him. I was referring to who? To Chiluba and the Mwamba himself. The confusion that is reigning now in PF, it is also fueled by Mwamba. The videos that we are trying to fake the aliveness of former President Edgar Lungu, they were done by Mwamba, Emmanuel Mwamba. Emmanuel Mwamba visited me. He was invited and used by United Nations when I was sleeping outside because staying in the locations, my life was threatened. He came. And unfortunately, to his side, he didn't find me because God removed me out of the tent early. When my tent was burnt by UN, when we were sleeping outside there, I rushed to a police station in Johannesburg, and I was told that I must talk to my Emmanuel Mwamba. Then I asked to say, why should I talk to Emmanuel Mwamba? I'm running away from the same government. Why this government wants to talk to me through the police, through the United Nations? Why can't they talk to me direct if they want peace between me? I've been fought in all these governments, and I'm still being fought by the UPND. But what is wrong? I'm simply speaking the revelation of God. This confusion that is in PF, it is not something that is new. And it is not something that is going to end today if HH does not humble himself. The same confusion, it will rise in UPND because it is the spirit of the frog which I saw that killed the first president and has continued to kill all these other presidents. I understand and know that HH has refused to stay in State House because he knew that there's a frog that invaded State House. HH has read my letters concerning what is in State House. But all that credit today, it goes to one named fake prophet, who is not a prophet at all, who is also fueling all these confusions on social media. Whatever I post, I don't know what is in the head of those that follow him. I don't know what is in the head of those that know that is a prophet. He has a dawn of power. Which power? When he's just fueling confusion, using the word of God. The misrepresentation of the Bible must be brought to an end. A prophet must not just declare falsehood. A prophet must write his prophecies and say things before they happen. Exactly what I'm doing here. I just want to review to you what I wrote before. I talked about this, the frog as the source of confusion. I proceed. He also said, Zamtrup account benefited everyone, including Manawasa, Mama Betty Kaunda's medical expenses. This was Chiluba defending himself when he was addressing that press conference. That they're accusing me of stealing. The money that was in Zamtroop is the one that I used to take Mama Betty for medical whatever checkups. Is the money that I've been using to all these other national issues. Then I said, in reply to Chiluba, I said, I rule out medical expenses he claimed to have spent on Mrs. Betty Kaunda. It is an ill excuse because Zamtroop account, according to my understanding, it is meant for private operation for the office of the president in line of security duties and not for the personal use to meet school fees for his children who are supposed to depend on his salary and allowances. So I brushed out that. My brushing out was actually in defense of what they accused of him. Let me read the other statement here. I said, let me end here, for I'm not a judge, but I'm trying to help the former President Chiluba to face reality. He cannot win this argument based on this kind of reasoning. What drives him is political evil spirit in fulfillment of Bible prophecy and my revelation of the frog. Yeah, my revelations of the frog. God says today, if you hear God's voice, harden not your heart. Hebrews chapter 3 verse 7. I said I was not a judge. And I said Chiluba cannot win on that kind of reasoning. And I said what drives him is the spirit of the frog. The spirit of confusion, to bring in Kaunda in the same thing, to bring in whosoever he shared with the loot of donor aid. So today, I'm appealing to you, Hakainde Chilema, to say, today if you hear God's voice, harden not your heart. I'm not here to fight you. Listen, this letter was meant for President Manawasa before he also met his death in Egypt. I said, President Manawasa, the fact is, there is no love between you and the first Republican President, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. Let alone Chiluba and President Robert Mugabe are now your political enemies. So can you say that this letter was driven because I hated Manawasa or I hated Chiluba? I said there was no love between the first president, the second president, and himself, Manawasa, as the third president. Today, it is clear there is no love between Hakainde Chilema and Lungu. It's simple logic. I cannot talk more about the wrongs Lungu did to Hakainde Chilema. He's dead. He won't listen to me. It won't benefit him. But I'll make reference to say, I know 100% that Lungu did all these wrongs against the opposition because he refused to talk to me to explain what I wrote in these letters. He was also used by the same spirit of the frog. Maybe that will satisfy you. I'm not defending the PF. PF is the party that made me to go into exile because I was telling them to say, Sata is going to be killed. I saw Sata in 2008. Sata won in 2011. And I still maintain to say, what I saw in 2008, Sata lying in State House with a wound on the chest, on the shoulder, and on the head, they are going to kill him. And when Sata was shot dead, and it was an assassination attempt. I understand Sata, they tried to remove Actually, they removed the heart and put another heart. That's why Sata has been held all over, even in the parliament. Even if he was not able to speak coherently, he was able to be taken just to parade him. Since that an assassination attempt, Sata never had a press conference to address the nation until his death in the grave. I want to believe that PF delayed to announce the death of Lungu. They were trying to do the same operation to put another heart. But because Lungu, I saw the wounds were too much on his body. He was already weak. He could not have withstood whatever operation they wanted to do. So I'm saying to you, Hakainde Chilema, before they also do an operation on you, please call for a 90 days national what? Prayer. It will save your life. Listen to God's will in your life. What I want to say is that what is happening in Zambia is not the liking of Lungu. It's not the liking of Hakainde Chilema. It is something that was planted. There is a demon. There is a frog. Some of these details, even if I may mention them to you, you cannot understand them. That's why I always